Good morning, everyone. Always good to see everyone, but I can't see everyone. But it's good to be back in the Conscious Living live stream. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day here in Florida and wherever you might be watching. So I'm going to give the opening reading today. I chose from the book Living Spring by Emmanuel. And I chose chapter 169 because I think it's got quite a relevance to the topic that Abigail is going to deliver today. So 169, let us seek eternity. And as always, starts off with a quotation from the Bible, this time from Paul, 2 Corinthians 4:16. And Paul says, although the outer man is wasting away, the inner man is being reviewed day by day. Very poetic. Do not allow yourself to be discouraged when faced with changes in your physical equipment. Let us seek eternity. Diseases do not touch the soul if they are not the result of regrets of the conscience. Old age does not affect the spirit if we are trying to live according to the light of immortality. Youthfulness is not a state of the flesh. There are young people in the world who have hearts filled with dreadful ruins. Let us remember the inner man continues to be renewed. The struggle enriches it with experience. Pain purifies its emotions, and sacrifice tempers its character. The incarnate spirit goes through constant transformations outwardly in order to purify itself and evolve inwardly. Remember that the time you spend on earth is but a spiritual journey. Just as a traveler wears sandals, wearing them out along the way, our soul makes use of forms, utilizing them on the ascending march towards the great light. Therefore, open your heart's receiver to the sublime wave of the noblest ideals and the most beautiful thoughts. Let us learn to live far from the termite of discouragement, and our spirit, even if faced with the hardest trials of infirmity or old age, will be like a shining sun, expressing itself in songs of work and joy, expelling darkness and bitterness wherever we may be. So, as always, a very beautiful text from Emmanuel. And I think it resonates with me in that I came across Spiritism quite late in my life. And as the text so profoundly states, and we all know that our physical body will eventually run its course, but we take solace from the fact that our spirit will live on. And we must remember that every opportunity in this life, in this incarnate life, is an opportunity to learn and to grow. And this is what makes Spiritism for me so compelling, and that once one realizes this immortal journey and we're here to reap the rewards of our past lives, but also make progress towards future lives. And it's a wonderful message, and it really answers all those, for me, those philosophical questions of, where do we come from, why are we here, where are we going, and what happens when we die. So with that message, and I think, again, I chose this one because I think it's going to tie in very nicely to the talk of Abigail today. So with that, I'd like to ask you all to join me in an opening prayer. Let's quieten our minds, and let's all connect with the good spirits in our individual homes, but also with each other as we connect over this wonderful technology, helping us, enabling us to be together collectively. Again, through the good vibrations we send and support each other. As always, we're so grateful for this opportunity to be together, learn a little more about this wonderful doctrine. And as always, and more importantly, help us put our learnings, the teachings we will have received today, into practice in the days to come. And more specifically, we ask the good spirits of our dear friend Abigail to be with her, helping her, guide her, and inspire her, so that her message of today can be delivered with the fullest impact. We can all receive the teachings, and again, we put them into practice. So we thank the good spirits, our Master Jesus, our good Lord, that for this opportunity to have one more day of learning, one more day together. We thank you so much, and so be it. Okay, I'll ask that Biga, you take over from here.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dave. That was a very nice opening and meshed very well with our topic. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Good morning, dear friends. It's such a joy to be here with our spiritual family. So welcome, Vivi, Gisele, Sue, Juan, Carlos, Abigail. So nice to connect with our good friends. And if there is anyone coming for the first time, so welcome to the Conscious Living Spirits group. So we are thrilled to be here sharing our study with you guys. So today, we are going to study about the return from the corporeal to the spirit life. It's a very, very touching topic, I feel, in these moments that so many of us are experiencing our loved ones going back to the spiritual life. And so many of us are suffering. It's natural, the suffering, of course, because when someone's returning to the spiritual life, we miss their presence. And it's difficult to let it go and say goodbye. But hopefully the study today gives some light and perspective when we have more understanding the meanings of returning home. It puts things in perspective. It's very consoling in my eyes. So would you like to talk about this today? So the first aspect we are going to see, all these topics, we're going to talk about soul and death, about individuality, eternal life, the separation of the soul and the body. And the first word I would like to bring it up and I highlight in red is the word return. So we can understand, the first time I studied a spirit's book, I put a lot of attention in the answers that the good spirits gave to Kardec, the collection, all the answers received. I put a lot of attention. And also, in my second study that I did, I started putting also attention in the questions. Because I discover with a little bit more understanding, there's so much in the question itself. So it's very interesting. So would you like to talk about the word return? Why he asked return? What's the word return it truly means? And looks like it's related to the reincarnation. Because many times when we say the person went home, but in this case, it's specific in the doctrine educating us return. So that means we have been there and we came here. So it's very interesting to look to this perspective because it shows us that we are here reincarnate and we're going to return to the spiritual life that is our true life, as we're going to see in the questions. So Kardec said to be born, to die, to reborn again, and constantly progress, this is the law. And this gives us an understanding that when we return home, it's like we are reborn in our spiritual life. And when we are incarnating, we are living the spiritual life and come to the corporeal life. In so many traditions in the spirituality, we have so many beliefs around it that shows us there is a spiritual life. In so many levels, we listen to many informations, many validations, many proof that there is a future life that gives somehow perspective how minimal sacred is this experience is. Even Jesus, he said it to us there, my kingdom is not from this world. There are many mansions in my Father's house. And all this information has been available for us. But right now, we are more prepared to understand what truly means. Because that time Jesus could not explain all the information. We are not capable intellectually to understand, but now we have spirit teams that can shed some lights in this matter and have the understanding that the spiritual life is our real life and help us to put in perspective the way we are living our life right now. We do not remember much of our spiritual life because it's a blessing that God gives us. So we don't remember what we've done in past incarnations. So we can give a free ride in this incarnation of the mistakes and the errors we did in the past life. So it is a blessing. It's like a fresh page in our book of many incarnations. So for us to try to improve and to progress. All right? So in the question, we see death, right? Talk about the word soul and death. And death is just a change of state, the destruction of the fragile form that no longer provides life with the necessary conditions for its functioning and evolution. So when exactly happened the death? The death is when, in the question 132 in the Spirit's book says, when death occurs, when our organs wear out. So it is a transition when our body met the purpose of this incarnation and wears out. That's when death occurs, and we are going to talk about this. And the Kardec asked the question, what does the soul become at death? It becomes a spirit again, and it returns to the spiritual world, which it had left for a time. So this is very important to understand. So when the spirit incarnate, it becomes a soul. And when the soul disincarnate, returns to the spiritual world, he left it from there. So he gives all that perspective. And it's very important to remember that considering the death is the birth in here, in this incarnation. In every death is the rebirth in the spiritual realm. So it's very important that we understand many things. It was hidden from us. Now we have more understanding about this. Every time that we enter in this corporeal life, it is an incarnation that reincarnate with the purpose for us to progress. Is also there in the question 132 that has the purpose of the incarnation is for us to progress. So when we are in the spiritual world and incarnated here, we have a purpose to use all the experiences, all the opportunities that present for us. That's why we don't remember. It's like a fresh start for us to put in practice everything we learn in the spiritual realm. It's like a test for here, for us to use this incarnation, for us to progress. So it's very important that we're becoming aware of that every day in our life here has a purpose. And when we understand that, we know that there is more opportunities for us to use every day in this incarnation to prepare ourselves, because we know one day we are going to return to the spiritual realm. And the more we understand this, the more probability we have to put in perspective when we are getting closer to our death, and also when we witness our loved ones getting close to death, because it's a fact, every day we are one step close. We don't know when we're going to die. That's, thank God, is not known for us. But it gives us perspective to help us to reflect and observe how we are handling life. Because, for instance, if we are very much looking life through the material perspective, making every hour activities and priorities to the material only concern if in this present moment, without having the awareness that we are going to go back home to our spiritual life. And not reflecting about the spiritual life. It might get a little scary when we're getting closer to the aging time, because we never reflect, we don't have information. So this unknown creates a little anxiety. That's why so many people don't even want to talk about that. But with these fears create a very difficult for us in the moment of our death, as we're going to see. And many of these fears, I don't want to even talk about, some people don't even say the word. We are very much, many times, having beliefs and being indoctrinated in the past. There is just two places to go, either heaven or hell. And that can create a very scary approach also. Because many people believe that if you are commit a sin, you're going to burn forever in heaven, in hell. That can be a very scary thought. And also not much encouraging for reform ourselves, to progress. Because if I'm going to be dead and already commit this sin, there is no more hope. So it is very challenging for some people to comprehend and put in perspective. And that has given people a tendency to go to the material approach to life, or some atheism get from that observation. But we're learning in Spiritism that is heaven and hell is in a state of consciousness. Like, for instance, sometimes when we are scared, when we are anxious, when we are in fear, when we have many distorted thoughts, or many rapid thoughts that we feel we can't control, that feels like hell. And many of us experience that moment of great tension. But we also experience many moments of bliss, calm, serene, when we are aligned and connect with our Father, doing our meditation. It feels so peaceful. That's heaven. So it's a wonderful, we learn in Spiritism that we can start to take responsibility for our state of consciousness. And I pray a lot in this area. Let's practice here to get out of hell as soon as possible. It is a learning process when we get ourselves in a very confused state of mind that is very painful, very aggressive sometimes, many difficult negative thoughts. It's an opportunity for us to learn how to take ourselves into a more elevated consciousness, because we never know, right? So it's practicing here. Just in case when we discarnate and don't find ourselves in a good space, we know exactly what to do. So that is the point. The person who is more spiritual, the person that invests in the knowledge about the spiritual life is more calm, because the unknown started breaking down, and it's more starting have an understanding what's going to happen. And that chapter is specific in the Spirit's book that I recommend. That I have not done all the question. I encourage everybody to read it, because it's very consoling when we have an understanding and put everything in perspective, and we start focus and acting in our life as immortal beings. Because when we go to our spiritual life, and then that is our real life, and we never die. We are immortal beings, and we reincarnate and reincarnate, re-enter the corporeal life as many times as we need to progress, as the question 132 says. The purpose of the incarnation, to be born in the corporeal, is for us to progress, for us to improve. And when we have done that journey and perfect ourselves and free ourselves from matter, what I mean, we overcome our fragilities, our imperfections, there's no more need of the corporeal experience. So that is our goal, and learning and be more spiritual and live with that perspective in mind, because many of us, even though, including me many times, we know we are immortal beings, in our day 24/7, we forget. So the importance is to be in a group, to study, is to remind ourselves when we behave, living as an immortal being, having that perspective in mind, everything has a future that is different and more consoling. So that's the importance for us to learn, slowly detach from matter, slowly work and live more as an immortal being. And Kardec asked, does the soul preserve individuality after death? Yes, it never loses. What would be the soul be if it did not preserve the individuality? So this is very important, because some people believe that it goes, everything blend in a whole together in a mass. So we are part of God, and then when we go back, we go as one with God. But the Spirit's book educates us that we preserve our individuality. And we can see, it's just observe around. There are some people, they're good, some people, they're not so good. There are people that are very interested in learning and intellectual. Some people are not interested at all. Some people are very arrogant, aggressive. Some people, even though they are arrogant, they try to be kind. And we see many shades of character, many personalities, individualities. And that shows that we preserve our individuality. And that's very important for us in a way to understand, for us to make the effort to progress. Because if I had the idea that we go in a mass together, so be the quality of the mass. So it's very important question for us to evolve. How does soul preserve individuality if no longer has the material body? It still has a fluid proper to it, which draws from the planet and from which it retains the appearance of the last incarnation, the perispirit. And that's a very interesting question, because every time we incarnate in a planet, in here, we are from the earth, so we acquire the fluid that is in here in this planet, so we create the envelope of the spirit that is called perispirit. And that's the way we preserve our individuality. And we learn in the Spirit's book that when we return to the spiritual realm, most of the spirits preserve the last incarnation's perispiritual form. So, because I'm here as an Abigail, but I have been Joanna, João, Marcos, I don't know how many incarnations, probably many incarnations. But when I return, I keep my last one. And it's known that the more elevated spirit, they can create the form of the perispirit they deserve, they prefer. Like we know that Manuel has chosen to preserve the perispirit of the senator public. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Publius, because it was the incarnation that he met Jesus, and is very special and significant for him. So that's why he chose to preserve that individuality. So it's very interesting subject too. Does the soul take anything else from this world? Nothing more than its memory and the desire to go to a better world. These memories are full of sweetness or bitterness, depending on how the soul has lived this earth life. The purer it is, more it will comprehend the futility what it has left behind the answer. This is a very important question for us to meditate on, because in the moment that the soul returns, what takes? The memories of the experience. The memories can be sweet or bitterness, depending on the way we lived this incarnation. So we know many times if we spend the time in our material priority needs, and if we not invest in our spirituality, we might have the bitterness and say, I should have done this, I should have done that. It's going to be bitterness when the person, the spirit becoming aware the opportunity wasted in this incarnation. So this is a very important alert for us to reflect on. Because definitely we don't want to waste the opportunity no longer. We could have not used all the time thus far because we just didn't know. But now we know. Now we are talking about here. So the memories we want to take is the one that is sweet. And we are going to see how important it is for us to live in a way that when we go back home is lighter. And we're going to talk about this a little more. So everything in this trip to return back to our spiritual life is paid by the quality of our heart. This is something that we need to relax and reflect on. In what sense should we understand the eternal life? Only the life of the spirit is eternal. The life of the body is transitory and temporary. When the body dies, the soul returns to the eternal life. And this makes me feel like, oof, that's big. So we are never going to die. We could say eternal. We can say we are immortal, living eternal life. We were created, but we are never going to end. So we are going to live it forever, eternal life. And having that understanding and understanding our body is transitory and temporary. Sometimes so many of us put so much attention in the body. So many people sometimes has difficulty in aging. But in reality, it's a reminder that this is very transitory and temporary and puts things in perspective. Our life as a spirit, when we return to the spiritual world, is eternal. So give us opportunity to detach a little bit more from the material body, in a sense, being so preoccupied. And aging is a natural process of this journey that we are doing. And I like to look my incarnation as if I'm in a boarding school. I'm here in school, and I want to learn as much as I can. I have repeat years, and I had to redo years, and I have some lessons that is so hard to learn, and they keep repeating, but I'll never give up. It's like having this approach, living life as a study, a school, to learn it, tests. I study, and then life presents itself for me to do a test. And that is a reference point if I'm learning or not. Many times when I put my head in the pillow and I say, today I did. Today I overcome that difficulty and I pass in the test. Great, check. Next. Some days, no. Ooh, I need to redo this lesson. And it's a very optimistic way to look to our challenges that approach to us. The separation of the soul from the body. In the separation of the soul from the body, is a painful process. No, frequently the body suffers more during life than in the moment of death. The soul itself feels nothing at death. The suffering that is sometimes experienced at the moment of death is pleasure for the spirit, for it sees at the end the desires at hand. This is a very important question. The soul liberates itself very gradually. And for some people, can be a very light experience, like they said. It all depends the way we live life. For some, if it's so much attached to the body, the disengage can be quite challenging, because the spirit is still identified with the body, attached too much, and is very more painful to disengage. And that is the way it reflects the way we live our life. And sometimes the spirit is connected to the body by this envelope that we mentioned, the perispirit. And the death is a disconstruction of the body, but not this perispirit that separates from the body with the organ life ceases. So the spiritism, this perispirit separates from the life, but sometimes can be still connect mind by the mind in the too much attention on it still feel connected, and that's the way it creates a little bit of difficulties. And some has been showing that in many studies that the separation can be much lighter or more painful depending on the situation of the spirit. And we're going to talk a little bit more. How does the separation of the soul from the body occur? Once the bonds that is held the soul are erupted, it disengages itself. And this also, the way the person die has a lot to do the way they live. And the ruptures go slowly or can take a little more. I would like to read it here. It's a very interesting. It is a study on the Heaven and Hell book, and show how Mr. Sansona, as a happy spirit, he expressed how he experienced this separation from the body, and how he perceived himself in the spiritual realm. It's going to be very interesting to read. So first I'm going to read the question 159. What sensation does the soul experience at the moment it realizes the world? That depends. If it has done evil for the love of it, the spirit at first ashamed for what it has done. However, if he experienced something completely different and it has been morally upright, if he feels relief of a great weight because he does not fear the most excruciating glance. So this is a very important and is related to the question before, the separation and the cessation they feel in the spiritual realm when the death occurs. And we know the death occurs when the organs wear out. And sometimes the sensation is still attached to the body. That doesn't mean the body has no more life, because the seasoning, the wear out of the organs in season the life, and the spirit the soul becomes spirit again, right? But it depends also the sensation they are going to experience, how the person live here. And some, if I focus on my morality and my progress, the sensation is going to be, wow, I'm back home, and it's light and it's easier. But if I had not invested in my progress and I've harbored evil feelings, it's going to be a little bit difficult, because immediately it's going to have that feeling, ooh, I wasted again. And the heaviness of the consciousness continue in the spiritual life. And a good example of a happy spirit that is, we read in the Heaven and Hell book, is a lovely, lovely explanation. And I encourage everybody to read in the Heaven and Hell if you haven't had it yet. It's about a Mr. Sanson. He was a former member of the Parisian Spirit Society, and he died on April 21st, 1862. And he had a year of a cruel suffering in his death. And he had a request for the group of the Spirit Society that he belongs to evoke his spirit as soon as they could in their time. So he wanted to do a contribution how he experienced the sensation being a spirit realm. He felt that would be a help for the group, and he wanted to do that service. And they did. They evoked him 8 hours after his death, and it was 1 hour before he was going to go bury. And they asked him, "You had suffered so much that I thought we might ask you how you feel now. Do you still feel your pain? What sensation are you experiencing comparing your present situation with that of 2 days ago?" And he answered, "My situation is quite happy, for I feel none of my former pain. I have recovered and I am renewed." That was only 8 hours after he discarnated. Then they asked, "How long did it take for you to recover your mental lucidity?" 8 hours. God, I repeat, has given me proof of his goodness. He deemed me more worth than I actually am, and I could never thank him as I should. So he felt blessed, but it took him 8 hours to recover from the transition, being a soul as incarnate, discarnate, and become a spirit and the spiritual realm. Because we know when we discarnate, we go in a little sleep, confused, and daisy, and the recovery of that depends on the evolution of each of us. Some people can immediately recover as him, as a happy spirit that he used his incarnation goodness for his knowledge and progress, and he was benefit by just being fully full of himself in 8 hours. Some people that are not aware, not invested, doesn't know what's happening. It takes much longer to become aware of the individuality. How does seeing your body here affect you? That is a very good question. My body, my poor and miserable remains, must return to dust, but it always have a fond memory of all those who held me in esteem while incarnated. I look upon my poor decomposing flesh, the dwelling place of my spirit, my trial for so many years, and I say, thank you, my poor old body. You have purified my spirit. My suffering has been a blessing and has earned me a well-deserved place. That's why I have been able to communicate to you soon. So he was so detached to matter, he was able to go near his body and thank you, the body, for all the experience. And they ask, were you conscious at the moment in which your body breath lasted? What happened to you at that time? What sensation did you feel? So they ask exactly what do you feel exactly in the time of your death? And he said, life expires and sight, or rather the spirit sight darkens. You find yourself in a void, the unknown, and then as if carried by unknown power, you find yourself in a world where all is joy and wonder. I no longer feel anything, nor I was sure about what was occurring. Nevertheless, an unfathomable happiness surrounds me, and I no longer feel the grip of pain. And then the most beautiful thing, because it's so inspiring, that it's up to us how we're going to feel in the moment of our death, isn't it? For me, it's very consoling, breaks all the unknowns. So that inspired me to apply myself in this boarding school. And the most beautiful thing when I read it, I'm sorry I'm reading a little bit too much, but I think it's very inspiring. And they ask them, I'm preparing to do a reading in your service, in your memorial, and I'm going to read this conversation. Would it be okay if we do so? And he said, yes, because I was there when you were planning. He could hear. And he said, oh, my friends, I already know because I was there with you, just as I am here. I'm very satisfied with it. Thank you. Thank you. Read it so that you can understand me and appreciate. Don't worry, for everyone is respectful in the presence of happy spirit death. Read it so to these disbelievers may acquire faith. Goodbye. Read it courageously and confidently so that my children may be converted to such a honorable belief. So it's so beautiful because they want to read it, but they were concerned some people would not believe. People not believe in life in the spiritual realm. And they say, please read it so more people can be inspired to acquire such an honorable opportunity and faith. I thought that was so beautiful. So, the spirit state of confusion after death. A believer in the body is the soul immediately conscious of the self. Immediately is not the right word. It remains in a state of confusion for some time when you say, but it depends on the evolution of the spirit to regain yourself. And when we know that we're going to be in a little stage of confusion, but very soon we're going to recover consciousness, individuality, and then we're going to meet our loved ones. For me, that is very inspiring, consoling if I lose one. We lost some loved ones recently, and it's hard. Grieving is very painful, but this is a very good consoling for me, because when we disconnect, we're going to meet everyone. So we want to live in a way that we have the same honor that this happy spirit have to meet our loved ones and have the opportunity to look back and say, I made every day count for my progress. For me, this is very inspiring. That's why I'm here this morning. Do all spirits experience confusion that follows the separation of the soul and body to the same degree and the same amount of time? I should have read that first, but that's okay. Yeah, as we said, I heard one time, and I cannot precisely from where, but I can't remember, but I heard that Mother Teresa, as soon as she discarnated, also Lady Di discarnated in the same day, she immediately went to help Lady Di. So it's so beautiful. Can you imagine you discarnated, you immediately are conscious of yourself and you're already ready to serve. I thought that was very inspiring too. So, does an understanding of Spiritism have any influence on the shorter or longer duration of this confusion? It has a very considerable influence because the spirits understood what situation would be beforehand. The practice of good and purity of conscience exerts the most influence, however. This is the incredible advantage for us as a spiritist and anybody that dedicate time to invest in our spiritual life. It make a completely different journey, as we said, the happy spirit experience, because many of difficulties, a lot of conflicts that we experience, we see all around us, has a lot to do with lack of understanding of the purpose why we are here. When you really understand that God gives us this incarnation to progress, to use our time, to improve, to make peace with our brothers and sisters that we have some animosity or a little something with, the opportunity is here. And depend on how much we invest our time and apply ourselves for that learning, is going to make a considerable difference in the way we discarnate and the way our death occurs and the way we return to our spiritual realm. So, invest in our spiritual advancement as an immortal being has a lot to do with it. Because when we focus in our study and our knowledge, we get to know ourselves a little more and we invest in our inner transformation. And with that, we have more empowered will. That is a potentiality of our soul here to progress and use our will to make healthier choices, to make actions that is going to help us to practice the virtues we want to acquire. Help ourselves to be more disciplined, have more discipline in our life to improve our moral qualities. And that's going to make a complete difference, not just the way we die, not just the way we return to our spiritual life, but especially the way we live now. And Spiritists teach us exactly this. What we bring back, we will create the path of our new life back in the spiritual realm, our real life. It's up to us to be more advanced up departing than we were up arriving. For our future situation will depend whatever goodness we did and how many virtues we have acquired. And that's the way we want to go back. So it's a reflection for us today as we finish this conversation and reflection. What do we have in our luggage to go and return to the spiritual realm? It's something for us to see and reflect what we are doing in our day. We are making every day counts. Are we making all the choices that is supporting us to apply the divine laws? Are we listening to Jesus' messages? And have you been able to put in practice? Even if it's just a little bit every day. Baby steps. But what it really counts is our effort to progress. Because as we said in the question 132, what is the purpose of this incarnation? With purpose, we leave the spiritual realm to incarnate in the corporeal. It's for us to progress. So it's a reflection for us when we put our head today in our pillows. We ask, am I a little bit better than yesterday? Because we have been comparing ourselves with others. But that doesn't take us anywhere. It's the opposite. That tied us in a very restricted area. We need to compare ourselves from how I have been yesterday and how I'm doing today. And that is a very exciting way of looking, because we know the way we live right now determines the peace and serenity that we want to live right now. And the way we live right now is going to reflect the way we die, disincarnate. The way we make this transitory, because death is a transitory state to the spiritual realm. So here's our reflection. So I hope everybody can invest. That's the invitation. Make every day count. Make every day an opportunity for us to learn how to love a little bit more. Make every day count for us to educate ourselves. So when we see a loved one departing, entering the spiritual realm, we can pray and support them in these transitions. Because the more understanding we have, more we can support and pray for the loved ones that are returning to the spiritual realm. And help us in our moments when it's approaching to trust that all the goodness that we have done and tried to do is going to help us to make a very smooth transition and re-entering in the spiritual realm. So this is our mission today. And I'm going to bring it back here, David, for us to end up the meeting. Thank you very much. Your mic is off, David. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abigail. That was a very nice talk and a good reminder for us all, especially in these challenging times.
Absolutely.
So thank you for those beautiful words. I'd like to invite everyone now just to step back and quieten the mind. And let's give thanks to the good spirits being with us, our Master Jesus, all the high outer spirits, for bringing us together this day, for giving us this opportunity to reflect more on these wonderful teachings. In these difficult times, it's more important than ever that we reflect and study the beautiful work of the doctrine, how it can be our guiding light, helping us understand the challenges and interpreting those challenges as opportunities to learn. Every moment of the day is an opportunity to show love and respect and help. Just sometimes it's just a listening ear, someone who's having difficulty, to listen but not to judge, but to help in any way we can. And this is what Spiritism teaches us as we go through this short incarnation, one of many, and many more to come. But each one, again, is just an opportunity to learn and to grow. We grow both intellectually, but we also grow morally. As the Spirits tell us, first came the intellectual development, but now it's time for the moral development. And we all know we have a long way to go before we reach the level of the high order spirits, particularly Jesus. But Jesus gives us a good guiding light. He's our mentor. He showed us what is possible. And so we must all strive each and every day to get a little bit closer to him. So again, thank you, Abigail. Thank you, everyone. This wonderful opportunity to be together. Much love and peace be with you all. Thank you so much, and so be it. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hopefully soon, in the not too distant future, we'll be able to get together physically again. It seems like Florida is going through a little bit of a second challenging wave, but hopefully we'll be over it soon. And again, we'll have a physical center where we can get together. But at least we have, in the meantime, we have the courses, our Sunday lectures in English, and Mondays and Tuesdays in Portuguese. This morning we had our Genesis third lesson in a third study of our Genesis group. There was over 20 of us today from the Philippines, from Thailand, from Brazil, quite a few states in the US, so it was very exciting. So if anyone would like to learn a little bit more about Genesis, please join us every Sunday morning, 9:30, as well as the other groups in Portuguese during the week. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day and a wonderful week to come. Take care now. Bye-bye.